It is 4:01. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand to sing "O Canada." Please be seated. And our clerk is going to do the roll call.
Mayor Sue Patterson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking,
Here.
Councillor Carol Hudson,
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
Councillor Susan Sackle.
Present. Thank you. All members are present and accounted for. The land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, October 21st, 2024. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Of course, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. So item 5 on our agenda is additions or deletions, and we do not have any, so we'll move right into our public meeting. So 6.1, we have a public meeting under the Planning Act to consider zoning bylaw amendment number 3318-24. This is file number Z524 for 854 24th Avenue. And I'll ask the clerk for the method of notice of the meeting and the dates of that notice.
Notice for the public meeting was circulated to all commenting agencies and posted on the Town of Hanover website on September 20th, 2024, in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. Circulation of the notice of public meeting included abutting property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands and was also posted on the subject lands. The application was reviewed by the Planning Advisory Committee on October 8th, 2024, and comments were received from the Grey County Planning Department.
Thanks, Vicki. And now I'll ask Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO, to give an overview of the amendment. Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. On September 16th, 2024, the town did receive the zoning bylaw amendment in front of you today, which we refer to as Z5-24 for the property known as 854 24th Ave. Earlier this year, council saw a similar amendment, Z2-24, which was passed, which was granted, permitting group dwellings on the property for a total of 7 units at that time. To clarify the difference for this application is at that Z2-24 zoning bylaw amendment, we approved a group dwelling, which was a 3-unit and a 4-unit. Through some consideration and finding the builder for the lands, it's more, it works better for the property if it's a 7-unit street townhouse as opposed to a 3 and a 4 separate on the property. There are no changes to the density. It's the same amount of units that was previously approved. As the clerk had mentioned in terms of the notice and circulations, we received comments from Grey County Planning Department, and if I can, Your Worship, they make reference to their comments that were a part of Z2-24, which made reference to as long as it is a private driveway, which is still being proposed, and no access to the county roads, which is still the case. No change to the site plan at all, with the exception of the setbacks increasing because the building is 1 building, not 2. Grey County Planning has no concerns beyond that. Town of Hanover Public Works also has no comments or concerns. There are no financial implications. As a part of this report, the link to the strategic plan is balanced growth. And the recommendation is that report PB 24-24, public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment Z5-24, file number bylaw 3318-24 be received, and that council pass bylaw 3318-24 to allow for the development of either a 7-unit street townhouse or group dwellings on the lands described as part of Lot 10, Concession 1, north of Durham Road, and known as 854 24th Ave in the town of Hanover. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Members of the public will now be allowed to speak to the matter. All questions are to be addressed through the chair. And if you do have a question or comment, please state your name and address for the record. This is in the event there is an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal on this application. I will ask a second time if there are any requests to speak from the public. No one online. Third and final time. Seeing none, the floor is now closed and discussion is limited to council and staff. So we do have report PB 24-24. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor before discussion. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hudson. Council, any questions, comments? Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your report, Andrew. Will these townhomes be 1 or 2-story?
Through your worship, the properties technically aren't subject to site plan control because it's under 10 units. So we don't have a say in what they are. My understanding is that they are 1-story, potentially with a walkout on the back, but that is yet to be determined, as I understand right now.
Any other comments or questions? And I don't see any online. Okay, so I will call the question. All in favor of PB 24-24? That is carried. All right, that ends the public meeting. So we'll move on to item 7, which is our delegations. And we have one, which is 7.1. We have BDO Canada LLP. We have Kevin Tremble here and Linda Bross to present the 2023 audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2023. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. As mentioned, I'm Kevin Tremble, Senior Manager at BDO Canada in Hanover and part of the external audit team for the town of Hanover's financial statements. I'm going to present a brief overview of our findings during the audit. So if we go to page 4 of the financial statements, you'll find the independent auditor's report. So this is the report that BDO attaches to the town's financial statements that indicates our opinion on the financial statements. So the very first section is our opinion paragraph. It states we have audited the consolidated statement of the town of Hanover, which comprises the consolidated statement of financial position as at December 31st, 2023, a consolidated statement of operations, changes in net financial assets, changes in or consolidated cash flows for the year then ended, and including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the municipality as at December 31st, 2023, in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So what this means is we've issued a clean audit opinion. There's nothing we found during our audit that we cannot issue our standard audit report in front of. So this is what you want to see on every audit report. The next section is the basis for our opinion. So the very first line states that we've conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. The following section is the responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. So I want to reiterate that these are management's financial statements. They're responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these consolidated statements in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Those charged with governance or council are responsible for overseeing the whole financial reporting process at year end and throughout the year. On the next page, it identifies the auditor's roles during the audit of the consolidated financial statements. So as auditors, our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance whether the consolidated financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with Canadian general accepted auditing standards will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. It does give us a high level of assurance, so to issue our audit opinion. It goes on to state some of the specific procedures we do during our audit. It is not a full list of our procedures, but does highlight some of the procedures we do. On the next page, it is dated October 21st, 2024, and that's assuming that council approves the financial statements at the end of this meeting, as these are still draft financials. We did meet last week to review these statements in detail with management, and we met earlier today with some council members to review the statements in detail. So I'm just going to highlight a few items on the financial statements. So on the consolidated financial statement of financial position, total assets for the year, $22.9 million, up $1.4 million from last year. Total liabilities for the year, $10.7 million, up $550,000 from last year. That leads to net financial assets of $12.1 million, up about $810,000 from 2022. Total accumulated surplus of $106.8 million, up $3.4 million from last year. And that $3.4 million is the in-year surplus from the 2023 financial statements. I'd like to thank Chris and her team during the preparation statements. They were great to work with and very supportive. And if there's any questions about our audit report or some of the financial statement numbers, I'd be pleased to take any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any comments or questions? As Kevin did mention, we have seen these a couple of times. Management has seen them and so has council, and our questions have been asked then. And this is for the public. We're presenting these statements. So, and I don't see anyone online. So, okay. Chris, please go ahead.
I know they're very hard to read because everybody goes, oh, we have $106 million. If you go to note number 12, which is on page 34 of the package, you will see how that's broken down and where the money actually is, with most of it being non-financial assets, being tangible capital assets. We have some reserves set aside and land for sale. So that's the bulk of what that money is.
Thank you. Okay, so I am going to ask for a mover and seconder that the Council of the Town of Hanover approves the Corporation of the Town of Hanover financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2023, as audited and presented by the municipal auditors for BDO Canada LLP, Chartered Accountants, Licensed Public Accountants. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Sacco and Councillor Fleet. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 8, we do not have any business arising from the minutes. Item 9, Council and Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. This is 9.1 on page 53. So these are the regular council meeting minutes from September 16th. I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Councillor Hudson, and if you see someone online, please let me know. Deputy Mayor Dickert. We'll get Dave on the next one. Okay, so September 16th, you'll remember we had a public meeting to rezone the land known as 267th Street. And it was to rezone from residential type 1 to residential type 4 site specific. And that motion was carried. We also had an update from Food Cycle Science Corporation about the Food Cycler pilot program. And good to hear that 22,100 kilograms were diverted from our landfill with this pilot program. We also had, we committed to provide extended ice until mid-May if a user group requires ice for playoffs. And this commitment is until the end of the 2026-2027 ice season. And that's it for highlights. Any other questions or comments with those minutes? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 9.2 is Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. I need from October 7th. I need a mover and seconder, and I'll take Councillor Hawking and Councillor Fleet. Just a couple of highlights with those minutes. We did, I want to say this again so the public is aware. We did have a delegation from Rivera. We had James Calderon, Director of Property Development, and Gilbert Schiller, who is the Vice President of Acquisitions. And they have been working with the province to secure adequate funding to proceed with the project of the long-term care home. Rivera remains optimistic that funding will be available and that the project can proceed. Mr. Schiller advised that the province will be extending the operational license to 2030 for the existing seniors facility. And it was confirmed that the additional 128 long-term beds remains allocated to Hanover. So that's good news. Also, with those minutes, our disc golf course development ad hoc committee has been dissolved, and I thank the committee for the hard work they've done to get the course the way it is. People appreciate it. And we approved naming of the splash pad for the Canadian Tire splash pad for the development in the Hanover Town Park. We also authorized procedure for the request for proposal for the splash pad project with a flow-through water management system and a separate request for proposal for the associated washroom facility update along with phase 1 of the Center of Excellence Park. And that's it for highlights. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, item 10 is staff reports. And the first one, 10.1, and we're on page 65, is report PRC 1624. The subject is the front mount commercial mower request for proposal. It's from Laura Christian, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. And I need a mover and seconder. And I'm wondering if Councillor Cable would like to move that. I'm going to say yes.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship.
Very good. Thank you, Brandon. And a seconder, Councillor Fleet. Please go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, Your Worship. And tonight joining me, I do have Tom Carl, our Parks and Facility Manager. So good evening, Council. The current, our commercial mower, snow blower unit, it's a Kubota, and the attachments have been in service since 2012. It is past its normal service life. It is a very, very important piece of equipment for our department. It is used all 4 seasons. It is our main unit for clearing all of the sidewalks at the P&H Center. It also does our daily ball diamond grooming and is a very key piece of equipment also for the grass cutting for our playing fields and parks. This unit has had it's had some maintenance that's needed in the last few years, particularly gearbox. We've had a hydraulic leak. We've had to replace a pump. We've had electrical issues, and this unit is certainly showing its age and has high use wear and tear. So on September the 6th, the front mount commercial riding mower request for proposal was posted on the town's website and Bid and Go, and was also sent to some known suppliers. 3 proposals were received by the September 23rd deadline. We did ask for the bids to include the attachments kind of itemized separately. So we've provided all 3 bids for you and also broken it down based on that trade-in for those attachments as well. So after a thorough review of the bids, and also staff completed some hands-on demonstrations of the top 2 bids. Staff are recommending that the 2024 John Deere 1575 Terrain be the model that we move forward. We are recommending this vehicle over the lowest price proposal due to there are several advantageous features and value add. This unit's usability, as well as its operator safety and comfort. The attachments are easier to change. It also offers that climate controlled cab. There are signal lights. That's kind of that factory installed. It's not an add-on. It's a standard option, I guess is the best way to describe that, that collectively make this vehicle our preferred choice for purchase. The replacement of this mower has been approved in the 2024 capital budget with 71,500 being allocated towards this purchase. So we are coming in underneath that. And with the RFP submitted by Huron Tractor with the approved amount or with the proposed amount of 61,900,000 plus HST. The recommendations before you this evening is that report PRC 1624 front mount commercial mower request for proposal be received, and that this project be awarded to Huron Tractor for a total of 61,900 plus HST for the 2024 John Deere 1575 Terrain.
Thanks, Laura. Any questions for Laura or Tom? Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Laura, for your report. I guess this question's more towards Tom, maybe. I'm looking at the Roberts. It's a 24-month 1,000-hour warranty, and Huron Tractor is a 24,000 warranty, no hours. How many hours a year would you put on the machine in a year?
We would be nowhere near that in 2 years. We're going to expire in the 2 years long before we ever put 1,000 hours on there. So that to me is no concern.
Okay, other comments or questions? All right, I don't see any. I'll call the question. All in favor of report PRC 1624? That is carried. Item 10.2, we're on page 69, is report PRC 1724. The subject is the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Grant. It's from Laura Christian, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. And I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Hawking and Councillor Sackel. Laura.
Thanks again, Your Worship. So the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund is one we've been waiting for. This is certainly one that we've known about for several months now. It's a $200 million capital program that's delivered by the Ontario Ministry of Sport in order to revitalize existing community centers and recreation centers across Ontario. So there's two streams. There's stream one, which is what they call their repair and rehabilitation stream. So the funding's a little bit smaller. It's for projects between 150,000 and 1 million. So this is this application is actually the first one that we're looking at. It's going to be due on October the 29th. Stream two is the bigger of the funds and funding up to 10 million for new or transformative community sport and recreation infrastructure. The key is that the projects do have to be within that sport and recreation fund. To note that I did attend a stakeholder webinar. They did confirm at that webinar that funding is for 50% of the project. So that was certainly something we weren't aware of beforehand. What percentage would it be? Is it, 5, 10, 15, or right up to 100? So it was confirmed 50,000. And also it was confirmed that we do have the ability to apply to both streams. We don't have to pick one or the other. We can apply to both streams. So that you do need to, the projects do need to be located in Ontario, and it has to be a community space that is open primarily for the use by the public, and there cannot be received any other funding for this project. So we talked about this at the August 28th PRC Advisory Committee meeting. There was a really good discussion, and they passed the motion that the PRC Advisory Committee supports and recommends applying for the roof repair at the P&H Center for Stream 1 as our preferred project. And for Stream 2, we would apply for the Kinsman Ballpark enhancements, the pavilion, as part of that Stream 2. So the funding program is currently open, and the purpose of me being in front of you this evening is we do require a council resolution to support the application. It's mandatory as part of the submission requirements. So usually a lot of times when we're putting grants in, this is not a typical step. But in this case, with this funding, they want to make sure that council is supporting the projects that we're putting in these grants for. So let's talk a little bit more about that P&H Center roof. So the P&H Center roof is kind of divided into several sections of the roof. They've all been kind of coming due or needed to be replaced at different times. As you know, the Aquatic Center was there first. We've added on. So it's a little bit of a mix there. It's not all the same roof. There's different areas. So the particular area that we are looking to replace is a section of the roof that is approximately 5,600 square feet. That's located above the exercise area and the walking track specifically. This roof, which is the membrane, which is typical, was included in the construction as part of the P&H Center addition at that time. There are several areas where the insulation boards have lifted. It's displacing that roof membrane anywhere between 4 to 10 inches. It's putting that additional stress on the membrane, and leaking is occurring in this area. We did consult with Dicon Roofing, and they did recommend a complete replacement of that area with a new cold applied SBS modified bitumen system, and the estimated cost for the project is $320,000. So we'd be looking to apply for 50% of that. Stream 2, the Kinsman Ballpark Pavilion, is at the end of its life cycle. If anybody's been by there lately, currently that open picnic section is certainly showing its age. The building does shift with the temperature changes, and it has caused the pavilion, the picnic area to kind of lift away from that wall of the pavilion building. The roof condition is very poor. It's leaking. It's created mold in the attic. It's causing issues. The ceiling in the kitchen has collapsed. Further, this building also lacks the accessibility. That's one thing that our users have expressed to staff on a regular basis. That it doesn't have adequate entrances or washrooms with the proper clearance in order to meet that accessibility standard. The building also doesn't have a direct connection to our sanitary, which does create additional concerns and additional cost. Essentially everything is pumped up with a sludge pump, which also could have failures, which is a bit of a concern. So the proposed project would include the decommissioning and the demolition of the existing pavilion. Ideally, we would try to bring that elevation up of the pavilion to that street level to kind of allow for the building to be directly connected into the sanitary. A new washroom / covered pavilion, complete with universal washrooms. And we would also include equipment storage, as well as a snack bar section, as well as a covered picnic area as well. We would also include in the project updating the electrical and convert the ball diamond lighting to LED fixtures. The total estimated project cost is still being investigated, so this is a bit early, but it is anticipated to be about $700,000 for the project. So financial implications to this report, there really aren't any financial obligations to this report. We're simply just looking for that motion to put forward the grant. In our 2025 budget deliberations, we have included that, so this will come forward at the budget meeting. So it has been included in that. And also noting that should funding not be realized, so if we end up not getting the grants, certainly we can reevaluate those programs or these projects at that time. So the recommendations before you this evening is that report PRC 17-24 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Grant be received, and that council approve submitting applications for the P&H Center partial roof repair for Stream 1 and repair and rehabilitation, and Kinsman Ballpark enhancements and pavilion replacement for Stream 2, the new builds or signature new builds.
Thank you. I have a question. You didn't mention, is there a meeting room still at the Kinsman?
Yes, Your Worship, there still is a meeting room, but it is our intention that we would no longer include a meeting room in the new design.
Are there other questions? Councillor Sackel, then Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Laura, for your report. I know from personal experience, I've spent a lot of time at Kinsman Park between my husband's ball games and my children. And yes, I'm thrilled that you're talking about doing a rebuild here. So I wish you best of luck with all of that. So I drove over there the other day just to check it out for old time's sake, you know. And there are a couple of newer stands for the fans to sit on, but there are some boards that might need replacement. I don't know if you looked at that at all in the stands. I also found that a couple of the picnic tables have some awkward moments, if you will, and probably could be replaced, even if it's just the piece of board. So I'd hope you'd look at that. And I wondered about bike stands. I didn't see any. So just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Certainly, we can look into those further. It's not something that would be included in the scope of this grant application, but we can look at that through operations.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Laura, for presenting all of that. I'm wondering if you can tell me if we in fact did get the grant, and since that is, sorry, for the Kinsman Ballpark, and since that was originally put together with a service club, if a service club got involved in reconstruction and wanted to have a naming opportunity, would that grant still be applicable?
So as long as we're not receiving any funding from a provincial or federal source, that's the stipulation within the criteria. So if there should be a group that, because we're still going to be on the hook for 50% of that price. So certainly if there's an opportunity for a donation, that could be applied towards the town's percentage of the project, we would, please contact me. We would certainly, let's talk.
Great, thanks. I just wondered if, because it was a grant, if there would be some odd stipulation that a service club wouldn't be able to do that. Thank you.
Okay, other, Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Laura. The pavilion, just personally, I think we should keep it pretty basic when we get to building a pavilion over there. The washroom, the storage coverage area. I'm not sure about fryers and that sort of thing. Apparently there's, we want to eliminate that. And another concern I have with the location of that structure is there seems to be a lot of vandalism from the school. I know I've driven by and the kids are, they have their lunch there. I've seen the odd eavesdropping, and Tom can probably agree with me, come off the building. I just wonder how we can address the safety of that building and protect it from vandalism. I know it's hard to do, but that's a concern I have. And just another concern, and Councillor Hudson had touched on naming. I think it's very important, the two gentlemen, Mr. Binkley and Mr. Patterson, that they're town builders in this town, that their names are involved somehow with this new facility. So that's just my personal view. So thanks.
Something to keep in mind if we get the grant. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Laura. This is first step. Certainly support applying for the grant, and we'll see where it goes from there. We have a lot of other budget deliberations to look at before there's any decisions made, but I certainly support applying for the grant. That certainly helps us if we do decide to move forward. So thank you.
Okay. I don't see anyone online, so I'll call the question. All in favor of PRC 1724? That is carried. Okay, item 10.3 is report PRC 1824. The subject is the evaporative condenser replacement request for proposal. It's from Laura Christian, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. And we'll take Councillor Hudson and Councillor Sacco. Thank you. Laura?
Thanks again, Your Worship. So the P&H Center ice plant condenser was installed in 2010. So it was original to the new build and is an essential component to our arena operations and our plant. The current condenser, the body is rusting, it's leaking water, it's causing ice buildup on the exterior, which resulting in further damage. And also due to the age of the equipment, there has been some scale that's built up within the tubing, which can possess, that elevated risk of that. No one ever likes to say the ammonia leak, but it's certainly, this is the type of equipment we're dealing with. So it's replacing this unit will certainly increase safety for staff and will potentially reduce any risk of downtime and extend the life of our current ice plant. So on Friday, September the 20th, the evaporative condenser request for proposal was posted on the town's website and Bid and Go. As well, it was distributed to known suppliers. We did receive 3 proposals by the October 15th deadline, but one of those proposals was disqualified because it did not meet the requirements of the RFP. So listed in your report today are the two proposals that did meet the requirements. We received a proposal from Black and McDonald Limited as well as Simcoe Refrigeration. The make and model for the RFPs are exactly the same, so we are comparing apples to apples. And lead times are very similar as well. So after a review of the bids, staff, we are recommending that the proposal from Black and McDonald be approved. Black and McDonald is a full-service contractor for industrial refrigeration, production and cooling maintenance, service and installation. Black and McDonald currently holds the contract with us for preventative maintenance for the P&H Center Ice Plant. We have a strong working relationship with them and their proven track record of timely responses and knowledgeable staff. It supports their ability to successfully manage this project. It is anticipated that the installation, we're looking to do this as, between now and the end of the year. So ice is in, and it's anticipated that the installation will not result in any disruptions to the operations, and ice rentals will continue during the installation process. The financial implications of the report is that the evaporative condenser is approved into the 2024 budget for $150,000. So again, we're coming in a little under budget there, and that the RFP submitted by Black and McDonald at $123,758 plus HST. The recommendations before you this evening is that report PRC 18-24 evaporative condenser replacement request for proposal be received, and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to enter into an agreement with Black and McDonald Limited for the supply and installation of the evaporative condenser at the P&H Center for a total cost of $123,758 plus HST.
Thank you, Laura. Discussion. No one? Deputy Mayor.
I like that it came in under budget.
Thought you would.
My question, do you have a plan B if it does affect the ice?
We do have. Yes, we do have, I don't know whether you've taken note, but out the back, you see the condenser that we're replacing is on the stand. And if you look up, when you're looking at it from the back of the building, look up to your left, there's a smaller BAC condenser on the roof that was from the old build. I had that looked at and checked over, and it will sustain one compressor in the event that there's some kind of a hiccup and we have to hold. We may not be able to rent ice, but we will definitely be able to maintain our ice, so we won't lose it.
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, and I don't see any questions. I'll call the question. All in favor of PRC 1824? That is carried. All right, thanks for coming. Item 10.4 is, and we're on page 75. This is report CL 0824. The subject is appointments to committees. It's from Vicki McDonald, our clerk, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the table. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council is aware, the procedure bylaw permits appointments to various committees to be made by council resolution as may be required from time to time. Due to the resignation of a member of the Planning Advisory Committee, a notice seeking interested applicants to sit on the committee was posted on the website and on social media. One application was received, and it's recommended that this applicant, Tony Diaco, be appointed to the Planning Advisory Committee. Staff were also recently informed that Cassandra Dillman will be replacing Becky Hillier as the County of Grey representative on the Age-Friendly Committee. The Hanover and District Hospital has also communicated their interest in resuming participation on the Age-Friendly Committee, and Karen Otterbein, Manager of Human Resources and Physician Recruitment, has submitted her application for this appointment. So in order to appoint the Hanover and District Hospital representative, the terms of reference for the age-friendly committee will need to be amended to increase the number of members to 9 from 7. So previously, an 8th member had been appointed without the terms of reference being updated. So that is why we're going from 7 to 9 members. Having diverse representation from a number of stakeholders on the age-friendly committee provides a greater breadth of knowledge and experience. In turn, this will support the committee's objectives of improving senior care and services. There are no financial implications with this report. And the recommendation is that report CL 0824, appointments to committees, be received, that the age-friendly committee composition be increased from 7 to 9 members, that council appoint Cassandra Dillman and Karen Otterbein to the age-friendly advisory committee, and that Tony Diaco be appointed to the planning advisory committee. These appointments are until the end of the current term of council.
Thank you, Vicky. Any discussion? And none online. I'll call the question. All in favor of CL 0824? That is carried. Item 10.5 on page 77 of the package is report CAO 2024. The subject is the Hanover Newstead Snowmobile Club Trail MOU, and it's from Sherry Walden, our CAO. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Hawking and Councillor Cable. Thank you. Sherry?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the town has previously had a memorandum of understanding or an MOU with the local Hanover Newstead Snowmobile Club for a land use agreement that permits those a snowmobile route across municipal lands, and it provides those trail users or those snowmobile users with a safe and reliable direct access to fuel. We do currently have a bylaw that regulates the operation of motorized snowmobiles within the municipality, and it certainly permits where we've entered into an agreement that use is permitted as such. So when the local snowmobile club contacted us about an updated MOU, we noted to the representatives that the trail would need to be revised due to the upcoming and the preparation of the site for the new water tower. On page 79, sorry, I'm going to make sure I have the right page number. Yes, so page 79 of your package, it shows a map of the trail route. So they've provided a trail route that is acceptable to us. It really is a very small piece that is on the town of Hanover property. If you're looking on page 79, it's that small piece where they move off of the roadway area onto the land just north of the red bordered section, which is where the new water tower will be. It's that small piece of yellow trail prior to them getting onto that darker green section of land that in fact is the Rivera property. So again, a small portion of land will be on town of Hanover land. So the MOU is required between the town and the club to allow the club to cross our municipal lands, and the MOU is attached, and it provides the liability policy of which the town will be named as an additional insured. So we've indicated that we're only interested at this time for a term that would begin after tonight when we've approved, if council approves this MOU, until the season ending April 30th, 2025. That'll allow us to consider the route more once we've got details with the water tower construction considered. So there are no direct financial implications with this report. The club would be responsible for all costs associated with establishing and maintaining the trail. So the recommendation before you is that report CAO-20-24 Hanover Newstead Snowmobile Club Trail MOU be received, and that council agree to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Hanover Newstead Snowmobile Club to legally enter, establish, groom, maintain, sign, and use a portion of the requested town lands for the exclusive purpose of allowing legally permitted snowmobiles and their riders to use these lands for the period of October 22nd, 2024 to April 30th, 2025. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sherry. Are there any questions or comments, discussion? Pretty straightforward. So I'll call the question. All in favor of CAO 2024? That is carried. Item 11 is committees of council minutes. And we have we have 8 sets of minutes along with some subcommittee minutes, which will have one motion to approve. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor before we start highlighting. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet. So the first one is the Joint Health and Safety Committee meeting minutes. This is 11.1 on page 83 of the package. And there are 2 sets of minutes for this. And I take it, Melissa, there you are online. If you would highlight those, please.
Thank you. So the Joint Health and Safety Committee did meet on September 26th. We invited Ted Knapp, our water and wastewater chief operator, to attend as a guest to speak to the committee about the town's confined space program. After discussion, the committee supported connecting with an external company to investigate potential project scope and costs. The meeting ended early due to a loss of quorum, which we then picked up during our meeting on October 8th as a continuation. We adopted the minutes from June 5th and June 26th, as well as department-specific minutes from Fire and Parks, Recreation and Culture. I confirmed that a meeting would be set with Acute Safety Services with respect to our confined space program. Ken Campbell, worker member of the Health and Safety Committee, presented a report on decibel readings that he had completed, and the committee discussed the need to continue our work on the hearing conservation program into 2025. We held discussion around self-contained breathing apparatus, also known as SCBAs, for the use of chlorine gas with further investigation required. We reviewed monthly inspection reports and incident reports, and departments have been requested to hold safety talks around rushing after the committee noted that this has been the cause of many incidents so far this year. We reviewed budget status and noted the need to defer funds that had been set aside for 2024. There were $2,000 set aside in 2024 to complete baseline hearing testing as part of our hearing conservation program. But we do need to make sure we have a comprehensive written program in place prior to completing that testing. And as such, we discussed setting aside that $2,000 in 2025 instead. A number of policies and procedures were reviewed, and an update on our 2024 goals and objectives was completed. We then set a meeting, our next quarterly meeting, for December 5th before adjourning. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Melissa. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Melissa. I'm just wondering if you can speak to number 7, the incident report with rushing. Maybe you can clarify that. What is that about?
Sure. So when staff do experience an incident or an accident, they complete a report that requires them to go through many steps, and that includes considering the root cause of the issue. And in a number of cases, it was that staff were kind of moving too quickly, or maybe not paying as much attention to the task at hand as could have been. And that had they done that, the incident probably wouldn't occur. So the committee did release some messaging for departments to share out with their staff.
Okay.
Other comments, discussion? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll move on to the next set. Thanks, Melissa. 11.12, this is the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee minutes from September 16th. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Age-Friendly met on September 16th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. Brandon Dobson gave us an update on grant applications so far. He was not successful in the one, but he's hoping the other 2 that there'll be some funding there for us. Recreation programs, fall programs update. Programs being offered this fall includes 55 gentle fitness, standing yoga, chair yoga twice a week, huff and puff hockey, adult and senior skate, drop-in pool programs. Winter programs planned as we go on. Business friendly campaign committee members to continue to reach out to businesses to promote age-friendly program. Committee members would like to see more delegations at the committee meetings. Hope to have one every second month. And other business, committee members shared with Angela Jensen, elder abuse lawyer working on a project to inline 211 with seniors to provide support, suggests that we contact her to do an article in the newspaper. And that's all I have to report from each family.
Thank you. Are you skating twice a week now with Huff and Puff?
Well, thank you for asking that question, Your Worship. And the answer is no, I haven't got there yet. I'm a late bloomer, so thank you.
I just thought, geez, good for you if you're doing that twice a week, but
Actually, I was out to the culture skates, so yes.
very good, very good. Yes. I heard someone was taking photos for it, so. Okay, 11.3, page 93, Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee Minutes, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The PRC committee met on Wednesday, September 25th, and some of the items discussed were a New Heights pickleball court announcement, so that was exciting. The East End Trail update is that the project engineer provided construction drawings, and it is now in the hands of the Saugeen Valley Conservation. The staff are investigating the possibility of hosting a volunteer fair on the arena floor in May or June of 2025. And as you know, we did approve the lighting solutions by Conrad Lighting in the amount of, and just as a typo there, not 562,000, but 62,000. So we will not be seen from outer space. The flower baskets have been changed out. I noticed the ones at Heritage Park have now been changed to fall ones, so that's very nice. Boiler project, I believe we have one. I should have asked Laura this. I think there's one in and the other one to come, I believe. Fall programs are up and running, and the PA Day camp of October the 25th, I believe, is a Halloween-oriented camp for that particular day. Lots of public skating. And then part of our meeting was discussing capital budget forecasts and projects, rates and reviews, and also the applications for the auxiliary room, the expression of interest that was put out there. So we discussed the submissions and the criteria, and then further information will be forthcoming on that. And also the Ryan Bester Way, which it's currently called, will be changed to Ryan Bester Drive. And that is by the Lawn Bowling Club, 6th Street A from 8th Ave till 9th Avenue. As people may or may not know, Ryan Bester is a exemplary lawn bowler worldwide. So that will be changed for that. And this golf course is still up and running. I noticed today that the baskets were still out, so still have time for another game this week while it's still nice out. Thank you.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll move on. Very good. 11.3.1, we've got 2 sets of minutes for the Splash Pad Development Ad Hoc Committee minutes. Councillor Hawking. You're still muted, Councillor Hawking.
How's that?
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Worship, and good afternoon, everyone. The minutes of the September the 4th meeting, we had a delegation of Steve Van Meer and Carissa Vercurl from Park and Water, because we're entering the new phase of the splash pad where we're looking at the design features. It was very, very well presented, and certainly caused some enthusiasm among the committee members. The fundraising committee, as mentioned, we are still receiving any donations to the to the project. And we had a photo op with our major donor on October the 7th or 2nd, excuse me. And the committee attended the October 7th council meeting where we made our announcement that we've reached our goal. We are then entering into our next phase called the design phase. I'll just carry on with October the 2nd. As I mentioned, we had our photo op. We have some donations from the community players. We talked about the naming opportunity, and that was also mentioned in the minutes of the Canadian Tire splash pad. And we have decided that we have levels for donations, and our first is supporter with a minimum donation of $1,000. But we feel it's necessary to recognize all donors, regardless of the amount that they have donated, because everyone's making a contribution. So we're going to acknowledge them on our webpage. And we had our press release from once Jumpstart has approved it, and apparently I've heard from Laura that they have approved the press release, so that should be out and about. And again, we focused on design. So I'm open to any questions that my colleagues may have.
Thank you, Councillor Hocking. Are there any comments, questions? I don't see any, Councillor Hocking, so we'll move on. Item 11.4 is the Economic Tourism Cultural Development Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met on Wednesday, September the 18th, and we began with a delegation. The first of three people was Nicole Hagerman, the relationship manager at NWMO, who attended the committee meeting to give us an overview of the organization's plans to safely store Canada's used nuclear fuel in a deep geological repository over 600 meters underground. She talked about the possibility of the two options between South Bruce and I'm not sure I can say those names, but they're up north in Northern Ontario. We are expecting to hear an answer from NWMO by the end of 24 as to the selection. The second guest was Stephen Travali, Community Engagement Officer at the Municipality of South Bruce. And he noted the extensive safety studies that are being conducted to ensure the protection of humans and the environment from radioactive or hazardous substances found in used nuclear fuel. There have been lots of studies that have been completed and no concerns have been identified. So after a decade of scientific, social, and economic research, peer reviews, and public engagement, South Bruce decided to negotiate that hosting agreement. Dave Rushton then was the last person to speak from the delegation. He is the project manager at the Municipality of South Bruce, and he outlined what the provisions of the hosting agreement would entail, emphasizing the commitments and obligations between the NWMO and South Bruce regarding the project. He talked about council approving the agreement. And I think most importantly for us in Hanover, further discussion was given highlighting the economic impacts that this project will have on our regional area, including Hanover. The importance of these surrounding communities being interested and educated on the opportunities will be beneficial moving forward should the site in South Bruce be selected. Later in the meeting, April Marshall updated the committee on the business pitch competition, the one that Minto has shared with us. We've already passed the application deadline. The finalists have been named. The written plan submissions are due on October 25th. The presentations will take place on November 1st, and there will be a social event on November 14th, with the winners being announced at our council meeting on November the 18th. The mayor's breakfast for business was in the planning stages at this point. Many of you were, at least on council, were there on October 16th. But I think it's important for the community to know that I really enjoyed how they did it this time. We had a panelist discussion with business owners from Hanover, and I thought that was a terrific idea. And that's about the highlights of that particular meeting. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Okay. I don't see any, so if you would like to continue on with the heritage minutes.
Right? The Heritage Committee met on, just a minute, on June the 20th. Donations that were received to the committee included a Hanover District High School ring and a hat and crest for Hanover Sports Fest from the 1980s. There were some discussion items that included the Canada Day archives, an update on a 20-year-old Hanover Trails historical tour pamphlet, and deciding on a kitchenware theme for the P&H Center display case. Al Morrow continues to work on the self-guided cemetery tour. And for those of you that have the Driftscape app on your on your cell phones, you probably have seen that by now. And that's all. Are there any questions?
Thank you. I don't see any. So very good. We'll move on. 11.5, page 109, the Hanover Walkerton Waste Management Committee minutes, 2 sets of minutes. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our September 17th meeting had a lot of topics on it and a lot of items to cover. We did receive the 2023 audit and are pleased to report there was no concerns identified there. We reviewed our tipping fees and the committee is recommending some increases on there. The most applicable ones are likely the 100 or the sorted garbage, which is $140 currently, will go to $145, and the minimum charge goes from $10 to $12. We did review and compared with neighboring communities. We are currently in the upper group of rates, but certainly in the neighborhood with our neighbors. Residential bag tags do not fall under this. That's actually a decision that's made at the council table here, so we did not touch on that one. The Ministry of the Environment did a site inspection and they had one non-compliance, whereas some refuse had not been adequately covered at the end of the day, and corrections have been made to ensure that we have future compliance there. Cell number 3 expansion will be required in 2025. It's about a year earlier than what we had hoped it would be. It is important to keep in mind that those dates are flexible because it depends on the amount of the volume of materials coming into the landfill site. And even though we charge on a weight basis, the landfill site itself is actually calculated on a volume basis, whereas they look at how big the actual landfill site is getting, and that is what dictates when you need to move to other cells. The nice part about moving to other cells is it also allows you to add some extra height to the existing cells that are there, because you don't have that cliff off the edge of it, shall we say. So there is some opportunities there as well. The estimated cost of that expansion is $2.7 million. We have 1.4 million in reserve or ready for that project. There will be funds added next year from both Hanover and Walkerton. We have some reserves set aside in Hanover that will cover another good portion of that. But at the end of the day, we expect there might be about $35,000 that we would have to do some internal borrowing for to complete that project, which isn't too bad considering the size of the project. The environmental assessment for the leachate handling proposal is complete and a public meeting will be held later this fall. The year-to-date budget was reviewed and it was noted that property maintenance is about $30,000 over budget, but that was due to the gull mitigation activities we had to take with the heron gulls, not seagulls, and that's what's showing up on that budget line. As far as quantities received, curbside pickup for Hanover is up about 2.75%. Walkerton's down about 3.2%. The over the scale, the people that are actually coming in and being weighed in and out, the quantities there are up about 15% for Hanover and about 14% for Walkerton. And commercial tipping, Hanover is up 12% and Walkerton's actually down 38%. This did generate a discussion amongst the members of the committee. They're trying to determine, what drives these changes and why is, one up, one down. It's it's not a very scientific discussion, but the reality is, it depends on the construction activity, especially for the commercial tipping fees, because there's a lot of construction. Chances are there's more waste that's coming into the landfill site. So really difficult to decide what's actually driving those numbers, but certainly is something that we do discuss and monitor and try to come up with any suggestions we can to extend the life of our landfill site. The October 15th meeting, it was a much shorter meeting. We reviewed the proposed 2025 landfill budget, and that will come forward again to the two councils for consideration when we do the budgets. And the Household Hazardous Waste Day, which was last Saturday, we had 134 participants this year, which was down from the 175 we had in 2023. And I would try and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And you did touch on my questions on whether it's that expansion, is it being caused from residential or commercial or both? And I'm wondering, Ron, if you would like to just comment that. And is cell number 4 our last cell? Like, we're going to do 3 and then we have 4. Is that in the plans?
Yeah, just to touch base on that, I would say for the most part, it would be from the commercial, because the commercial is a larger, significantly larger volume than what the residential is. Although we're looking at volumes, the way we're tracking this year in terms of commercial, we are running less commercial into there this year than what we did. The construction and the stuff going into the site is less this year, so that's maybe going to help us in the future in terms of volume. Cell number 3, we're getting into, and actually there is a cell number 4 on it. So we've got 1 and 2 are near completion come into next year, and we're working on 3 and 4. 3 and 4 cells are bigger than the actual first 2 cells put out. We also have another factor on there is that when you do a theoretical calculation, it says you go to a magic wall between where cell 3 and well, I'd say between where cell 2 and cell 3 starts there, but in reality, we have to put tapers on to pull them in. So we're probably getting a little less volume than what a theoretical calculation would have been out of cell number 2. And I think that's maybe making us go ahead potentially a year sooner than what was theoretically calculated.
Thank you. Other, Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for highlighting cell number 3. And so I believe that we're putting away $50,000 each year right now as part of our budget for the reserve of the future cell cost. And so I'm wondering, Ron, how far out do we predict the cost of cell number 4, so that we'd be able to know if $50,000 is enough, or whether we need to be increasing that so that when cell number 4 needs to be created, we have the funds available?
We actually had done an overall look at the cells, cell 3, cell 4, basically the total closeout of the site. And that's kind of what we've come up with our calculation each and every year, jointly between 2 of the municipalities. We're increasing the amount going to reserves by 5% a year to take into account that. So I think realistically, we need to get into find out what the actual tendered price is when we move in for cell 3, and that'll give us a closer indication of what we're doing. You know, it all got started when we initially went into the site, projections of what each of these cells would cost. And as time goes on, when the actual tender comes in, that's when we know closer. But I would think when we're looking at running as close as what we are, based upon the numbers, the cell coming in is whatever the number is 2.7 million. If all the monies we put in and be able to calculate, we're within a few $1,000s of it being supportive, I think we're calculating in a very, very close direction, as close as we're ever going to get. But we'll be able to adjust that once we see actual numbers.
And are we still projecting that the landfill would reach its final capacity in the late 2040s? Is that kind of still where we're projecting?
I believe we have 23 years left out there. Isn't that the last estimate?
Yeah, I think if I'm recalling a number on that seems to be coming to my mind like in the 2050s, 2052. And we actually track that when we're doing a volume calculation and our engineers do the calculations of it. It's tracked every year, and the total target end of where we need to be, that number really has not changed.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good. All right, we'll move on. 11.6, page 115, Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Planning Advisory met on the September 10th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. Zoning bylaw amendment Z4-24. This was Winkler Estate, 267th Street. The Secretary Treasurer explained that Wilson Developments is retained by the owner of 267th Street, who seeks to rezone from their R1 zone property to R4XX to allow for development of 6 street townhouses. Number 5, this is company 100291312 Ontario Inc. This is 612 10th Avenue. This is the old Dickies factory. The Secretary Treasurer informed committee about the proposed redevelopment of the old manufacturing outlet. The property is zoned R5 to allow for manufacturing outfit. The owner informed the committee of their plan to develop 41 affordable resident apartments requiring 46 spaces. He explained that while they have 32 parking spaces on site, they are seeking relief for the remaining 13 spaces. The proposed include a mix of studio, 2-bedroom apartments. The committee requests a planning justification report of parking study and also asked to explore the alternate parking solutions to support affordable housing. Number 6, part lot control application Can Do Homes, 746 18th Street. This Can Do Homes has applied for a part lot exception on Saugeen Cedar Heights lots 104, 107, which form a fourplex. Can Do Homes is seeking permission to provide backyard access to lots 105 and 106 through lots 104 and 105 respectively. A site plan control agreement at 267 10th Street. This would be the old radio station building on our main street. The Secretary Treasurer examined the site plan control agreement for the property located at 267 10th Street to add on a dwelling unit by converting the rear half of the main floor commercial space and incorporating a residential unit in the basement. Number 8 is site plan agreement. This is a Haas property, 52 14th Avenue, the old McLean's building. It's located at 252 14th Avenue to convert the existing brewery into Hanover Motorsports, which has already happened. Planning Service Grey County media release has been released about the county's 9 municipalities discuss a potential shared service model for planning. And that's all I have to report from planning.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Councillor Fleet? Seeing none, that was the last set of minutes for that motion. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Dicker, seconded by Councillor Fleet, that the motion to receive these minutes that were just highlighted, that the information and we receive the information and approve the recommendations in those minutes. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item 12 is bylaws, and we have 2 bylaws. And I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. And I'm looking at Councillor Hawking. Thank you. And Councillor Fleet. And I'll ask the clerk for the intent of the bylaws, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number 3317-24 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Hanover at its regular meeting held on September 16th, 2024. And bylaw 3318-24 is a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2912-15 as amended, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the town of Hanover.
Thanks, Vicky. So it's been moved by Councillor Hawkins, seconded by Councillor Fleet, that bylaw numbers 331724 and 331824 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Is there any further discussion with those bylaws? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Item 13 is correspondence requiring action, and we do not have any. Item 14 is reports and correspondence for information. 14.1 on page 123 is report FI 0624. It is the third quarter activity report, and it's from our fire chief, Jeff Deniger, and our CAO is going to highlight those. Oh, is he? Oh, there you are, Jeff. Sure. Sorry. I'm trying to give your highlights away.
No problem. Thank you, Your Worship. As stated, FI 0624 is the third quarter activity report from July to September of 2024. As the report indicates, in the third quarter of 2024, our highest number of calls were to medicals at 22. Our second was to false fire calls at 14, and our third to other at 13, a total of 68 calls for the third quarter. For the year up to the third quarter, our first was medical, our second was false fire calls, and our third was other, a total of 177 calls for the year. For fire inspections, we had 38 inspections for the quarter. We issued 44 reports and 11 inspections are in progress. And as you can see, the year to date is 109 inspections, 117 reports, and 41 are still in progress. Alarm for life inspections saw 26 homes visited for the quarter. We entered 13 homes and 6 were compliant, which is a 46% compliance rate, which is increasing from last year. Our year to date shows a 42% compliance rate. Public education, we had 22 activities for the quarter, an estimated 761 participants and 53 hours. Our year to date includes 32 activities, 1,514 participants, and 81.75 hours. There are no financial implications, and the link to the strategic plan is open and responsible government. That is my report, and unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Jeff, for your report. I was quite surprised when I looked at the medical calls that you've received for emergency. We've gone from 12 in 2023 to 22 in 2024. Is that drug related, Jeff?
No, actually, those calls have decreased over time. We're seeing more of vital signs absent calls. And calls that are serious in nature, we're dispatched with paramedics to help each other.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. 14.2, this is the Grey County Joint Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee, and Melissa is going to highlight those.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the committee met virtually on September 19th and provided input on the design and placement for rest areas for an intersection that's being reconstructed in Owen Sound. Grey County presented a review of their progress on their multi-year accessibility plan. Owen Sound reviewed correspondence for a number of site plan approvals, and the committee held discussion around guide dogs in recognition of September being Guide Dog Awareness Month. Hanover did not have any specific business to bring forth at this meeting, and it adjourned at 2:36 p.m.
Thank you, Melissa. And I don't see any questions. So item 14.3 is the Police Service Board meeting minutes from October 7th, and I will highlight those. It was budget discussion, but I do want to share that the chief presented a draft budget of 3.9 million, a 12.8% increase over 2024. The largest item on this is the wages and benefits, which reflects 83.23% of the entire police budget. Staff members advancing through the ranks according to the collective agreement, the annual pay increase, an increase in the complement to 17 officers in mid-2025, and an acting sergeant position for the entire year to assist with supervision duties are the reasons behind the increase in salary and benefits. And the 2025 increase in the complement is required to address workload issues and that are caused by the increased number of calls and the increasing complexity and time required to investigate the cases. The chief explained that the complement has not increased since 2008 and remained at 15 officers since that time. And you will hear more about that when the budget is presented on whatever date in November. So as each department head will be presenting and also the board, so the chief will be here to explain that. But that was our discussion, and thank you to Chris Walker for attending the meeting and doing her magic with the computer and putting the numbers in and coming up with the answers right then and there, which is always very helpful. And if anyone has any questions, please let myself or Councillor Hawking know, and we can help prepare for that day, the budget day. Item 14.4 is the Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission meeting minutes. And there's actually two sets or information, a letter on the second one. So Councillor Hawking, if you'd like to highlight those.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on our meeting on October the 9th, we had, pardon me, we had a report from Tim Olds, our airport manager, where we've increased the our farmland acreage, thereby increasing our revenue, which is always something we keep in mind. Financial statements were shared. New business, we have increased our schedule fees approximately 4% beginning on January the 1st, 2025. We then had a delegation from Steve Furness, Senior Economic Development Officer, Grey County, and Luigi Presta from Manager Partner of Compost, along with April Marshall, our Economic Development Manager. They presented a high-level business case demonstrating the potential to build over 100,000 square feet of space on airport lands. It was a very uplifting and exciting presentation. And the group is, we asked the group to present to our three municipal councils in the next few months. And they are currently setting up presentations for councils of Brockton, Hanover, and West Grey. With regard to the letter, it was suggested that I give a heads up to the budget process because one municipality said that our budget request for 2023 got lost in committee reports. So we decided to send a specific letter outlining our requests for next year. We've based it on CPI index, and you will see that we are asking for a budget of $174,000, which is an increase of 4% since 2022. And because it went out to the three municipalities, I didn't get into details, but for the town of Hanover, I just like to report to my colleagues that Hanover's portion last year of the 154,530 was $47,197. The proposed budget, if we do receive 174, that will amount to a budget for Town of Hanover of $54,270, or an increase of $7,073 from 2022. So again, I'm open to any questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hocking. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 14.6, page 137 of the package is the Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit Meeting Minutes. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. At that meeting, we had a discussion around the use of our 30-passenger bus, looking at the insurance costs and coverage and how we might use this vehicle to generate some extra revenue for the organization. And at this point in time, it's a work in progress. Pending some possible grant monies being received, we will move forward with a notification software to communicate with riders. Currently, it's a manual process, and this automation will certainly save a fair bit of staff time. The budget review highlighted some savings in cell phone maintenance and fuel costs. Keep in mind, this meeting was in June, so there's a lot of year ahead of us yet to see where we're going to land, but it was good news at that point. Plans are in place for a September employee appreciation event, and I can report that this year's event was very well attended and greatly appreciated by all. After the review of a number of last-minute ride cancellations and the $18,000 annual cost to the organization, we approved cancellation fees be increased in the hopes of reducing those last-minute cancellations and the costs incurred. The May operations report showed 2,512 rides, $41,000 in fares collected. And of that, Hanover had 617 rides. So continues to be one of the higher use members of Saugeen Mobility. And I would take any questions that there may be.
Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on. 14.7 is the Grey County Council and Committee of the Whole highlights. Your turn, Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. The October 10th meeting highlights. The Director of Paramedic Services, Kevin McNabb, spoke to Council about the Supportive Outreach Services, commonly known as SOS. The project was awarded the Ontario Health System Quality and Innovation Award for its success in improving health outcomes for marginalized people in the region. And I think it's safe to say SOS was kind of born here in Hanover as a result of our downtown fires. So, that kind of what kickstarted it, and they've really carried the ball well and doing a great job in that. And to get this provincial recognition was really, really impressive. So Council heard of the launch of the Gather campaign with internationally renowned and decorated local chef and artist Roger Mooking, and that's an economic development program promoting Grey County and area. Council endorsed the plan that actions be taken towards creating a regional housing strategy, and this included an additional budget allocation to update the county's growth management strategy based on the revised Ministry of Finance projections. They used to use a different set of criteria to figure out what the growth would be in the county, but now everyone has to start using the Ministry of Finance numbers, and it does change quite a bit because it shows more growth than what we were anticipating. Council received a report that it was approved in principle pertaining to Grey County urban and rural roads transfers. Staff were directed by Council to negotiate new road agreements with affected municipalities. So for Hanover, that is 10th Street, 7th Ave, and Grey Road 28th or 24th Ave, as we call it in town. And we have a meeting coming up on December 11th with county staff to see just how that might all shake out. But there is certainly a lot of things to be considered there that Mayor Patterson and we've brought forward, as well as staff. Sherry and Mr. Cooper have been an important part of this as well. So it again is a work in progress, and we'll need to see how that all comes together. Council received correspondence from Guardian Wildlife Control requesting an increase in the bounty for removal of nuisance wildlife. And after that request, Council then directed staff to come back with a report to see how we compared with other counties and how much we might have to adjust that in order to help to deal with that issue, because it is a significant issue in the farming communities. We don't see too much of it here in Hanover, but you certainly do hear a lot of it in the rural areas. So we'll see where that one goes. And that is my highlights for that meeting.
Very good. Any discussion? No? Okay. Item 15 is good news and celebration. Counselor Hudson, I'm going to start with you, whether you have some good news or not, but you're welcome to start.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I am going to steal the thunder from all of the others that went to the Camp Molly graduation yesterday. It was fabulous. It's very impressive that Hanover was the host for those 25 young women who took on this challenge from all across Ontario. It was great for a lot of the people, the grandparents and the parents, to see our fabulous new fire hall, not quite completed, but still they did a great job putting it all together. And for just the recognition that our lone female firefighter received for putting together a really good presentation as well. So it was a great day and warm fuzzies all around.
Very good. Anyone else like to comment? Counselor Cable, then Counselor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank everybody involved with organizing the fall market in Heritage Square. It definitely was great to see so many people who came out to the market and so many vendors. I think it's just a great event in our downtown core, and really nice to see the number of vendors willing to come and set up a booth, and also the number of people who visited our market, but also then the downtown shops that day. So thank you very much to all the volunteers that organized the fall market.
Counselor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. So October is a very busy volunteer time for me, and I know that it's Operation Christmas Child time. So if you want to pack a shoebox, please contact myself or Ann Hahn. You can also donate to cover shipping costs if you don't want to pack a shoebox. We're trying to get everything collected by the 3rd week of November. And secondly, I'd like to remind all the book lovers in Hanover and surrounding area that our book sale team has been busy. We moved into Hope Community Church yesterday. That's our new location this year. And we're preparing those books for Thursday, October the 24th from 5:30 to 7:30 for the early bird viewing and purchasing at a cost of $10. But you can go in without any cost at all on Friday from 9 to 8 and Saturday from 9 to 4. Thank you.
Very good. Counselor Fleet, then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple things to touch on. I just want to say thank you to the Hanover Public Library, the Sound of Hanover, Larry Mercy, John Gardner, Richard Necto, Jamie Warren. It was a great event. Well done. And the other end is our Hanover Barons have opened up. They unveiled their North Pollock Division banner and League Championship banner, and the Barons are off to a great start. I think they're 11-1, so let's hope for another exciting year of Barons hockey and get out and support our Hanover Barons. So,
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to, I'm going to steal a bit of information that Mayor Body from Owen Sound gave at one of our recent council meetings. And it's about housing and homelessness. And as much as we all know there's so much more to do there, I think once in a while we have to step back and see what's already being done and kind of take credit, not credit, but at least recognize what's being done. The county has budgeted $22.3 million on housing in 2024. And much of that money goes to homes that are located here in Hanover that county housing supplies. The county spends over $3 million a year on homelessness initiatives. That's overnight accommodation for those in needs. This year, the county bought a motel to provide more overnight accommodation for the people that are needing it. The county has established a transitional housing center, which is a facility to help those wanting to improve their situation. This center offers training in basic life skills, has helped several people get off the street, and it's apartment type setup. It's in Owen Sound, but it's dedicated to helping people who want to get that assistance they need to break that cycle of homelessness and challenges that they face. Our county paramedics run the SOS program, which we spoke about here just a few minutes ago. The police have teamed up with Canada Mental Health Association and paramedics, and they're constantly in contact with people in the homelessness encampments. When available, the Hanover Police actually have a mental health worker that goes with them to calls to try and help people with mental health related incidents. Bright Shores Health Systems has opened a long-term mental health and addictions treatment center with 45 beds in Owen Sound. It's the first of its kind in Ontario. There are 19 more planned, but this is in Grey County, and we were the leaders in that and getting that done. And the county did support that project with tax dollars. So, and in addition to that, what Grey County is doing, there's the Grey Bruce Public Health, which does several opioid and overdose training and support sessions. So, as I said, there's certainly more that needs to be done, but I think once in a while we have to step back and realize what is already in place and share that information with the people that have these concerns, and hopefully as we move forward, things will get better, but it's just nice to know that there is quite a bit being done already. So thank you for the opportunity to share that.
That's very good. I just want to say thank you to particularly April Marshall, but also to staff for the mayor's breakfast. It was a great breakfast. The panel was excellent. The breakfast was great too. And lots of people attended, and it was a good morning. That's our second annual breakfast, so we can look forward to another one next year. I'm going to ask staff if they have anything they want to share.
Just that this is local government week through the Association of Municipal Clerk Treasurers of Ontario. So you may see some social media posts highlighting our various departments and what they do in the community. And when you consider that from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you're probably touched by a municipal department in some way or another. Very important services and a chance to highlight those as well. And I will just mention, staff go above and beyond often in our community, and maybe we don't say that often enough, but a couple of examples is the Camp Molly and the Mayor's Breakfast as a couple of recent examples where staff in those respective departments have gone above and beyond to offer those types of activities and events in our community. So thank you to our staff for doing so.
Thank you. Ron? No? Okay. All right, so we'll move on. Item 16, planning and other meetings. All of our meetings are listed on this agenda and on our website. And a shout out to the Hanover Walkerton Waste Management Committee. You're the first one on this page to have a meeting in 2025. Everybody else is, well, Saugeen, oh no, that's October. So yeah. Waste Management gets that prize recognition. Deputy Mayor.
Actually, there's a correction to the Saugeen Mobility meeting. That meeting will now be on November 15th, not October 25th.
Okay. One correction. November 15th. All right. So dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is November 4th at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting is November 18th at 4 p.m. And the finance committee meeting is October 28th at 4 p.m. And at this time, I'll ask if there's any notices of motion. Seeing none, we do have a closed meeting, and I need a mover and seconder that council move into closed session to receive advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding the Saugeen Municipal Airport options. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Sacco and Councillor Hudson. All in favor? That is carried. So I'll just let